morning. It's 8 minutes after 10 on a Friday morning. It means it's time for the Real Estate Fix with Rich. I'm your host, Rich Sherman. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're on KHTS, FM 98.1, AM 1220, your hometown station. And it should be an interesting day today. We're going to talk about some mortgage rate stuff, some basic market stuff, just briefly. We're going to talk about the California Mortgage Relief Program because you guys who aren't taking advantage of this, I think, are nuts. It is literally free money. I've been in real estate for over 30 years, and I can tell you this is the first time I've ever truly seen state or federal government give away free money in a way that was actually useful and accessible. And they're not getting enough people taking advantage of it. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And then we're going to bring in, again, the folks from Bridge to Home, Chris and Andy from Bridge to Home are going to come in. We're going to talk about what's going on. They got an event that they're promoting and all kinds of other good stuff that they're doing because keeping people housed is definitely near and dear to my heart. And it's their crusade. It's what they're after. It's what the organization does. And they're doing very, very good work. So we thought have them in today. For those of you who are listening, they were on before with Matt's show, so hopefully, I don't know if we have any new ground to cover, but we'll make sure everybody knows about the event. We'll get going. But right, so let's start here. So Forbes just put out a report, which is good, just yesterday put out a report that the current mortgage rate nationally, as of February 15th, the 30-year mortgage rate has reached 7.53% on average. That includes most mortgage costs. So yeah, we're up about 0.18%, I guess, from last week, which is not great. And there are reasons for that, which we won't go too deeply into today because I want to make sure we leave some time for the interviews. But yeah, it's up a little bit, which is not good. Now, this one isn't because of the Fed. This is because of market rates, really, market forces, chief among them being the jobs report. And unfortunately, good jobs report is good for the rest of the economy, but it's very, very bad for interest rates and real estate because a good jobs report means the Fed is less likely to lower the interest rate. And as that continues, the interest rate's going to remain high. So the 15-year rate is now at 6.76%. That's up a quarter of a point. The 30-year jumbo mortgage rate, 7.41%. That's up 1/10 of 1 point. So yeah, all mortgage rates rose across the board. 30-year fixed, 15-year fixed, and the 30-year jumbo rate have all gone up about 0.18% versus 0.25%, somewhere in there, so quite a lot. This is the higher than the rate was last week. The APR was 7.26. The APR contains both mortgage interest rates and the lender fees to help give a more complete picture of loan costs. To get an idea of how much you'll pay exactly, because this is where the rubber meets the road, if you are a buyer right now and you were to get a mortgage for $100,000, which obviously is not going to happen in Southern California unless you're putting a lot of money down, $100,000 mortgage with a 30-year fixed rate, the loan at the current average of 7.53 will cost you about $701 a month. Now that is just principal and interest. That does not include taxes, insurance, or HOA. That's just your principal and interest. So it's not impounded. Now, if you get a more realistic number for our area, if you had a $500,000 mortgage, $500,000 mortgage, say you bought a $600,000 house with $100,000 down, your $500,000 mortgage on a 30-year fixed rate at 7.53%, which is today's average rate, that would be $3,505 per month plus taxes and insurance. And taxes are going to run you about another, figure $500-600 a month, and then insurance is going to be another $300 or $400 a month because insurance rates are going up like crazy in California, which we talked about before. So you're probably looking at about about $900 a month on top of that. So you're about $400 a month, basically, is what you're looking at on a $500,000 mortgage on a $600,000 purchase, about $4,400 a month. At $800,000, which is the larger and more average number in our area, the average house sells for about $800,000, maybe $35,000 right now. At $800,000 for a 30-year fixed at 7.53%, your mortgage would be $5,608 per month, and plus another, that's not including taxes and insurance. So you'd have to include another about $900 a month in taxes, about another $400 a month in insurance. So you're about $1,300 a month more there. So that puts you at about $6,908 a month. So you're about just shy of $7,000 a month if you're buying, say, a $900,000 house with an $800,000 mortgage. So yeah, the numbers are not great. They're not. We kept hoping the interest rate would go down. We hoped the Fed would signal that they'd be lowering interest rates. They've signaled they're not going to raise them, which is a start. And again, the Fed doesn't directly control the interest rate, but they have a direct impact on the interest rate. So I won't bore you with how that all works. Although if you're curious, you can always call me. I'll be happy to give you a little class on it. Yeah, so that's where we're at. The interest rate continues to go up. It went down a little bit. It's been trending down, and unfortunately, last week it hit the skids a little bit and went up more than it has for about the last 6 months. I think it spiked a little bit. So hopefully that'll lead to a relaxing this week. We should be okay. I still maintain that we're going to be down under 7%, preferably under 6% by the end of the year. My hope, my prayer, if you like, is that we get to about 5.5% by year's end. 5.5% for a 30-year fixed mortgage. is really where we need to be to get to stability. And again, the reason for that is simple. Most people in this country, as a result of the low interest rates during the pandemic, have interest rates that are well below 5%. 70%, according to the good people at Fannie Mae, tell us that 70% of all mortgages in the United States right now, 70% have an interest rate at or below 4%. And if you're at 4%, you're not going to sell your house and buy another one and go grab an interest rate of 7.53. Even if you bought your same house, it would more than double your payment. And most people, if they're buying, they're going to buy up, or they're going to buy down if they're downsizing. But either way, what's happening is what we're calling the golden handcuffs. If you got a 3.5% interest rate or something like that, and your mortgage payment on $500,000 is, including taxes and insurance and an HOA, is about $3,700 a month, why would you trade that in for $7,000, $8,000 a month, $6,000 a month? I mean, that's just not realistic to think that people are going to do that if they have a choice. So the real estate market is going to remain frosty, not as bad as it was in 2023. There is more movement in the market now, but we are still looking at fewer buyers. We are still looking at fewer sellers, most of it because of the interest rate, other market forces as well, but mostly because of the interest rate. And if that 70% number wasn't scary enough to you, 70% of all people have a mortgage rate under 4%. Well, up to 85% have mortgage rates under 5%. 85% of every single mortgage in this country right now has an interest rate at or below 5%. 70% have mortgages under 4%. 85%, so an additional 15%, have interest rates that are, in other words, between 4 and 5%. And that is not an inducement for most people to sell and to move. We need stability. Now, if we get down to 5.5%, there are those people at 5% who'll make that change. There are those people at 3.5% who'll even make the change if the house is worth it and they want the bigger, better deal. Certainly. But we've got to get to that point. And the Fed's continuing to just drag this out like just slow water torture. I frankly do not understand. It is very, very annoying, and it is incredibly destructive for the real estate industry. The National Association of Realtors is down 30% in their membership. 30%. They are shedding realtors. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing in the long run because you have to, trim the tree every so often. But that means 30% of their membership nationwide, in addition to all the other troubles that National Association of Realtors is having, NAR is having, they just lost 30% of their roughly 30% of their membership. And that number goes up when real estate markets get better, but that's a lot. That is a lot to lose. As I keep saying, real estate market in general in Southern California is down about 40%. Now, that's not in prices, that's in volume. That means there are 40% fewer sales that have gone on in 2023. And that's a lot. And as I keep saying over and over again, whatever your industry is, whatever you do for a living, imagine doing 40% less of it. I mean, that's not sustainable. Most people cannot afford a 40% drop in their interest. They don't have 50, 60% profit margins. So you can't afford to have that kind of a drop and survive. So it's weeding out. You're seeing a lot of mortgage companies go out of business. You're seeing a lot or merge. You're seeing a lot of escrow companies do the same. You're seeing all the ancillary services doing that, and you're seeing a lot of realtors and real estate companies going through that as well. We will definitely, if this continues, we will for sure have fewer real estate companies and fewer realtors by the end of the year. So, a little bit of ray of sunshine for you. That was nice. Nice to brighten up your Friday morning. Sorry about that. That's okay. The rest of the show is going to be about homelessness. That ought to really brighten things up for you. Anyway, let's talk about how we combat that, because the fix are all about solutions. Calling out the problem is easy enough, but calling out the problem without suggesting a solution is not really useful for most people. It's fun, and it's easy to do, but we look for solutions. That is the whole point. So under that heading, for those of you who own a house, here's a fun statistic that I was looking at. Let's see, where were we? Only 56% of California residents own the home they live in. That is the second lowest home ownership rate in the country, second only to New York, if you were curious. The rest of the country average home ownership rates are about 65%, yet California is down to 56%. The reality is that we're kind of at a tipping point with home ownership in this state, and more what we're seeing is a permanent rental class, which is very bad. I mean, the whole idea is the American dream. The whole idea is to climb that ladder, and you're going to need it for retirement, is owning a home. Owning a home is the single largest asset most people have. Not only that, there was an AARP study that came out just before the pandemic, a pretty good sized sample as well, and they concluded that better than 98%, I was 98 point something, percent of people surveyed said they need the equity in their home that they've built up over time in order to be able to retire. Because those of you who are renters, if you're in your 40s and your 50s, I have bad news for you. I hope you have a really well-funded 401k plan, because otherwise you are in trouble. Because most people think they're going to work forever, And then they realize when they get to their, late 50s, early 60s, whatever it is, everybody's different, I suppose, that they're going to have to retire at some point, and they're going to outlive their savings, and they're going to outlive their 401k. Social Security certainly isn't going to do it for you. So you better hope you have a house with equity that you can rely upon. We've talked about reverse mortgages, we've talked about sales, all sorts of other things we can do to get you through that. But that is a terrifying number because it goes down every year. The number of people who own their houses versus renting in California goes down every year. Every year we have more renters and fewer owners. And that is an incredibly dangerous trend. It has been trending that way since about 1971, and it just continues to get worse. So that is one of the reasons I'm kind of on the crusade I'm on to keep people in their homes. That is kind of the whole point for me. That's why, for those of you who know me know this, but for those of you who may be new to the show or listening for the first time, we do foreclosure defense for free. I've been doing it for over 30 years. We keep people out of trouble. We get their mortgages back on track, and there are things you can do. Just because you have fallen behind on a mortgage does not mean you have to sell your house. Doesn't mean you have to lose your house. It doesn't mean you have to be, sent to the scourge of foreclosure and have to deal with that. Foreclosures are bad for everybody. It's bad for the homeowner, obviously. It's bad for the bank because they always lose more money in a foreclosure than they do with doing a workout, which is kind of the point. And it's bad for the neighborhood. Foreclosures bring down the sales for an entire neighborhood. It's not good news. Not only that, it's difficult to buy another house after you've had a foreclosure. It takes 5 to 7 years to clear your credit. So it's a problem. So we stand in direct opposition to that particular problem. We prevent foreclosures all the time. We're very proud of it. And again, we do it for free. So if you yourself or you know somebody who's in trouble or just have some questions about it, I find that's the biggest problem in this area is that people just don't understand how it works. And to me, it doesn't seem complicated because I've been up to my neck in this for the last 30 years. So it seems pretty old school to me. But we've done other shows on how foreclosures work, and we're not going to do that today. And if you have any questions, you can certainly call me and ask. And I give up my cell phone number on the air. I'll do it again now. My personal cell phone number, you can reach me at this 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 661-714-1400. That number again, 661-714-1400. And that really is my real cell phone number. And you really will get me if you call that number. If I don't answer, text me, I'll call you back, or leave a message and I'll call you back as soon as I can. And once again, to my mother, if you're listening, even though I know you're not, please don't call me during the show. I only do this twice a month now, and yet you still seem to find a way to call during the show. But thanks for listening, Mom. I appreciate that. Anyway, so let's talk about California Mortgage Relief because they are fantastic. California Mortgage Relief Program is run by CalHFA. They who administer it. It's the result of the American Rescue Plan. In the American Rescue Plan, California got $1 billion from the federal government. That's billion with a B, to use for direct homeowner support. And what that means is this group, the California Mortgage Relief Program through CalHFA, and you can find them at camortgagerelief.org, or you can call me and I'll point you in that direction. They are literally giving away free money. And what happens is if you are, and they keep increasing the entrance, so it makes it easier for people to get into it, not harder to get into it, which is great. And they just did it again. Now, if you are more than 2 months behind as of this month, so if you're at least 2 months behind on your first mortgage right now, you need to call these people. You need to go to their website. They will literally give you free money. They'll send it to the bank. They will get you caught up. You do not have to pay it back. I want to say that again. They will give you free money, up to $80,000, to stabilize your mortgage. In other words, to get you out of foreclosure, to pay your mortgage current. You don't have to be in foreclosure, you just have to be in default. So if right now, and you can hear my voice, and you're 2 months behind, call the California Mortgage Relief Program. It's super easy to apply. You get online. It's all done online. You can even do it from your smartphone. It's easy as heck. If you have trouble with it, we can help you. And get applied to them, get into them, because what will happen is it takes them about 30 days, sometimes less. But we've had client after client that we have put through this program. I have personal experience that we've put people through this program, and they're getting $45,000, $55,000, $80,000, and it's bringing their mortgage current, and it's getting them out of foreclosure, and it's giving them a second chance. I have seen this program change lives. I've seen it directly change lives. I've seen it dig people out of foreclosure, keep them in their house, get them back on track. It is fantastic. So this made a quick change. I want to read this to you. The California Mortgage Relief Program has announced an important update that will extend the program eligibility to more homeowners across the state. The program has extended the delinquency requirement for mortgages and property taxes. You can be behind on your property taxes. They'll cover that too. And even if you're current on your mortgage and it's just your property taxes you're behind on, they will pay that for you as well. And again, you do not pay it back. It is free money. But anyway, and property tax applicants up to February 1st of 2024. So as long as you're at least 2 months behind by February 1st, so maybe you missed January or December and January payment, they will take you. And they'll make your payment. If you've missed 16 payments before that, that's fine too. Just remember, the cap is $80,000. If you owe more than $80,000, they can't help you. So you've had some clients who kind of paid it down to 80 so they could then get this program, and it works great. Since launching in the midst of the pandemic, the program has been instrumental in aiding over 30,000 households in California who have suffered economic setbacks due to COVID-19. Today's announcement opens the door for additional homeowners to potentially receive a grant of up to $80,000 in federal funds. Rebecca Franklin, president of CalHTS, who we were lucky enough to have on the show here end of last year, emphasizes the ongoing struggle of many homeowners due to the pandemic-related financial hardships. And by the way, anything that's a hardship, a financial hardship during the pandemic can be called a pandemic. You don't have to have had COVID. Any hardship. By extending the delinquency date, we are broadening the reach of our program to assist more families in need. Homeowners should not wait to protect their future and apply online today. These grants represent crucial support systems for Californians, enabling them to catch up on past due bills caused by the pandemic and secure their financial well-being. It is fantastic. You can use this program for catching up on overdue mortgages or reverse mortgage payments. We've used it for that with clients, addressing any unpaid property taxes, reducing and eliminating partial claims, or other loan deferrals. So if you have a deferment during the pandemic, this is one way to get it paid off. You don't have to do a modification and stick it on the back of your loan, which is a deferment, or get into a new payment program or anything else. You can keep the interest rate you have. These guys will pay the deficiency, and you're good to go. No lien against your house. You do not pay it back. There are no other restrictions. Once you're qualified and they say you're good to go, you are good to go. Now, sometimes it takes a little work to get a file accepted. We can certainly help you with that. But I'm telling you, the people down there are fantastic to work with, and they are giving away free money. I'm a 52-year-old adult, and I've lived in California most of my life, and I'm telling you, this is the first time I've ever been able to say something like that, where it's free money. I don't understand how you don't know about this or you're not looking for it. So if you own a home, and you are behind, or if you own a home and if you're in a deferment, if you're in a forbearance, give these guys a call. Give me a call. I'll point you to them. You can reach them, the California Mortgage Relief Program. You can reach them at camortgagerelief.org. All one word, camortgage, MORTGAGE, relief, RELIEF.org. camortgagerelief.org. They are a fantastic organization. Just to give you some quick stats, and then we'll go to break. On California Mortgage Relief Program, so far, they have given out $776,134,844 in direct homeowner relief. $776 million of the $1 billion we have has been given away. And once they're out of money, they're out of money. Program shuts down. $58 million has been given out in just the last 7 weeks. So just since December 21st of last year, California Mortgage Relief has directly funded, this isn't what's in a pipeline, this is what they have already given out, $58 million. Now, I don't know about you, but if I were behind on my mortgage, I would want my piece of that pie. These are federal tax dollars that we have all spent. That is where this money is coming from, and you do yourself a disservice by not looking into it. It is one of the many solutions we have for people who are behind on their mortgage, for people who are having trouble, for people who are struggling. Unfortunately, it doesn't cover seconds, which is a bit of a blind spot, I think, in their case, but it does cover first, and I've absolutely seen it save lives. I've seen it turn people's lives around economically. It is fantastic. It is absolutely the best thing since sliced bread. So if you're behind on your mortgage, give them a call. And if you're curious, give me a call. I'll tell you how to get a hold of me if you have anything to ask. You can reach me at 661-714-1400. I'm Rich Sherman. You're listening to The Fix on KHTS 98.1 FM, AM 1220, your hometown station. When we're back, we're going to be talking all about Bridge to Home. Hey, everybody. Thank you for listening through the break. I appreciate it. We're here today with Chris. I'm Rich Sherman. You're listening to The Real Estate Fix with Rich on AM 1220, FM 98.1, KHTS, your hometown station. And we have with us in studio today Chris Naharro and Mandy O'Connor from Bridge to Home. So we're going to talk about all sorts of Bridge to Home stuff, all kinds of good stuff going on over there. But real quickly, before we get into that, I want you guys to have a few numbers on this, because homelessness in California is obviously why Bridge to Home exists in our area, but it's a problem that we're doing it wrong here in the state of California. We just are. And I'll tell you why I say that. California, latest survey we was reading this morning, latest survey, approximately 174,000 homeless in California right now. Of those, approximately 30% of all homelessness in the United States is in California. So we have 30% of all the homelessness in the United States, yet we have only 12% of the population. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that is ridiculous. There are other states that do not have. I mean, everybody has a problem here, but we have more of it than anyone else. Yeah. And it is not the sunshine and movie stars that creates that. It is not people coming here. As we talked about earlier, only 56% of California residents own their own home. That's one of the biggest problems I see. A recent University of California study found that 90% of adults who are experiencing homelessness in the state of California became homeless while living in California, primarily due to lack of affordable housing. 75% reported becoming homeless in the county of their initial residence. Nearly 40% reported being homeless for the first time.
Yeah.
Before becoming homeless, 32% reported previously having a mortgage or other contractual agreement. In other words, they had a house, they had a situation, it was all working fine, and something happened. We talk about zombie mortgages a lot around here, which gets people into foreclosure, which you shouldn't. We talk about failure of the banks to do their jobs properly, failure to live up to the laws that are there to protect them. And there are people who across the board who fall into this. So the idea that homelessness in California is the result, these outdated numbers, or not outsized numbers, I should say, are the result of immigrants coming here or homeless people coming here or being bused here. It is nonsense. 90% of the people who are homeless in this state started here.
Right.
That's just the statistic. So terrifying stuff. We are, all of us, no more than a few disasters away from winding up as another client for you guys. I know you guys don't need another client. So before we so let's get. I want you to read your bio since staff put it together for me. Chris holds a bachelor's degree in sociology from the California State University at Northridge and a master's of social work degree from the University of Southern California. Well done. Chris started her social services career as a case specialist at the Child Resource Center. She's been working to serve homelessness in community of Santa Clarita since 2011, when she accepted the role of Director of Family Promise of Santa Clarita. She joined the Bridge to Home team in August of 2017 as Director of Programs. So that's very impressive. Mandy O'Connor is Bridge to Home's Director of Development. Mandy graduated from the University of California, Santa Barbara with a BA in Communications. She brings over 10 years of experience in the nonprofit industry, previously serving in a similar capacity for an educational foundation in Northern California. Mandy and her family relocated back to Santa Clarita in 2019. So, and I've got some stuff on Soup for the Soul, but you guys probably describe that better than I can, I'm quite sure. So let's start here. Why don't, because I don't think a lot of people, I think everybody's heard about Bridge to Home, and they all know you guys, are involved in preventing homelessness and housing people and stuff.
Yeah.
But what is it? Because I've been all over the websites. I've been reading about you guys, getting ready for the interview and stuff. And I thought I knew a lot about you guys in the organization, but honestly, I did not know as much as I know now, and I wish I had. Because there's all kinds of extra stuff that I discovered that I didn't know you guys did. I'm ashamed to admit I didn't know that. So why don't we talk a little bit about what Bridge to Home does, kind of what the mission is, which is fairly obvious, but more specifically, I mean, obviously you're trying to get people housed, you're trying to get them back up on their feet, get them back into, productive lives. But there's so much more that goes into that.
Yeah.
So why don't you guys tell us a little about kind of, sort of the mandate and how you're reaching that?
So we've been around for 25 years here in Santa Clarita. We started as a very small shelter back in 1997.
Santa Clarita Community Development Corporation,
That's correct.
right?
Yeah. Yes. And then we were only providing shelter for about 21 people in the winter months. Eventually turned into a year-round shelter in 2019. By that point, we had already started providing case management services to people experiencing homelessness with family navigation and individual navigation, so trying to get them back into housing and working from the very beginning till they got housed. And then we started developing new programs. So right now we have an outreach program. Goes out into our streets with our court enforcement, our sheriff's department, and works with people that are living on the street and trying to connect them to services. And then we have permanent housing through voucher programs. So a lot of people, like Section 8 voucher programs. And then, so that's permanent housing. They get that for their lifetime. And their case manager follows them through that program. Those are for people that that need a lot of support because of maybe medical reasons or mental health. And then we continue to have our navigation. So we have people that are working with them to identify barriers and then attack those barriers and then get them housed.
Let's talk a little about the case management stuff, because I was fascinated by this and reading about it yesterday, because obviously I think you guys were up to 900 beds now, I think is what I was reading? Or will be shortly when the new facility opens?
We have 60 beds, and we'll continue to have 60 beds when the shelter opens, and we'll have an additional 32 beds for families. So 900 a year is what we're right now working with.
It's still, I mean, it's not big enough. It's still a hell of a number. I mean, considering
It's a
where you
big
started,
number.
that's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. We think, of course, there's more probably out there that are not connected to Bridge to Home, and we hope that we can reach them and they can come in and take advantage of the programs that we have available. We provide meals to the community on a nightly basis. Originally, that was only 4 days a week. Now it's 7 days a week, in addition to the people that are housed at our shelter. So, a hot meal, warm bath, that's
Makes a
essential.
difference. Yeah, makes a difference for sure.
Yeah. So, and if you don't have that, I mean, that you're not thinking about, those are basic needs.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about the other things that we're thinking about. The secondary things that we need, like a job. It's, if you don't have a shower, how are you supposed to go into a job
Of
interview?
course. Of course.
So we do that on a daily basis for people that want to take advantage of having a warm meal and taking a hot shower. At a new facility, we're going to have laundry facilities on site, and then our activities are going to be available to people in the community. That sometimes it's job prep, and then financial literacy. So we're going to have a lot more to be able to offer these individuals
Yes.
when our shelter opens.
Yeah, I saw there are all kinds of classes that you guys offer. So
Yeah.
it's not just housing, which is and food which is food and shelter is pretty huge to begin with.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, you guys are also doing classes and you're doing like financial literacy you mentioned. There's just all kinds of stuff that comes out of Bridge to Home. I mean, the program has really expanded to become one of the best resources I think in the area.
Yeah.
And you guys are doing some incredibly good work. So I think that's fantastic.
Thank you.
When does the new facility you think is going to open? I know it's scheduled for what's June or July?
June. Yeah, we're
Okay.
hoping for June. Yeah. Construction.
Well,
It can go either way, and with the rain that we're getting,
they tell you 2 weeks. We'll have it done in 2 weeks. We'll have it done in 2 weeks. Every contractor now 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That in Alaska, I did it all wrong. I don't know that it's really a contractor right now. But yeah, it's a gorgeous facility. I was looking at I was reading some of the write up about it online and stuff. It should be really, really useful. And considering what you guys are dealing with now, which are basically trailer homes with no
Yeah.
electricity and no water. I think do you have electricity? We have no running water.
No running water. Yeah.
My Lord. I am sure that we can do better than that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's absolutely fantastic what you guys are providing. It's super helpful for the community. A big deal. And those of you guys who are curious about this, I would encourage you. You can certainly call me. I'll help you out with it. But if you'd like, and I would certainly encourage you to do so, go to b2home.org. So it's letter B, TOHOME.org. And they make it very easy for you to donate. It's on the first page. You can donate right there. And I think more than anything else, those of us who are in a position to do that really should.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't question other people's morality. That's up to them.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that it's a simple thing, and it goes directly to the people. I mean, this is direct engagement.
Yes.
This isn't sort of we give money to some large omnibus sort of group, and maybe a few dollars of it sprinkles down to someplace else. This is direct community engagement. A very, very good place to put your charity money, I think.
You can become a bridge builder. So right on the first page, as you said. So a bridge builder is someone who gives monthly. It's vital to our organization. And, $25 a month will go far. All of those funds go to the programs and services that Chris spoke of. I think that people think about the shelter and that we're going to serve 92 individuals on a constant basis, but the case managers that we have also serve families in our area. So the services go to helping kids stay in the school that they're in, providing them resources so they can stay in Santa Clarita and not move outside of the valley. It's so much more even than our shelter.
It's also, like I said, it's community based, so the dollars stay here,
Yes,
and it is for direct engagement. It's for direct help. So every time somebody donates $1, or better get $25 a month, or buys a ticket to the event, which we'll talk about in a minute, that money goes directly into the community. It stays here.
Correct.
And I think that compared to, I mean, I'm not putting down other charities. I would never do that. And a lot of people out there doing very good work. But here's one, if you guys are interested in, who will give money, who the money you give stays here.
Yeah.
It is money that goes directly back into our community. And that's a great big deal. I really do think that at the end of the day, the problem with homelessness is not going to be solved on the national level. Congress is going to be useless about this. I don't see the White House doing anything that's really meaningful at the end of the day. I don't think most governors are going to be able to do too much about this at the end of the day either, other than maybe provide some money. I think it has to be tackled, and please tell me if you think I'm incorrect. You have a much better view of this than I do. I think it has to be tackled at the individual level. It has to be tackled at the local level.
Yeah, I agree.
It's one person at a time, one family at a time.
Yeah.
And when you get that one taken care of, you move on to the next one. And that's just the way it has to be done.
Yeah.
Because obviously this is something I've been involved with in real estate in general for a lifetime now. And I have seen these programs come and go, and most of them are flash in the pan. There are a lot of money involved, and the money doesn't usually get to where it needs to be. I'm talking about national type programs, things like that. I don't want to name any of them because I don't have to deal with the fallout from the internet. So you can, those of you who want to say bad things about the internet, go ahead. Pick a program, you can say I said it, doesn't matter. But there are those out there that just do not do, I'm not saying they do a bad job, I'm just saying it is not as effective.
Right.
I don't think this is a problem that's going to get fixed at the 30,000 foot level. It's going to be fixed at ground level. And it's going to go on until it is fixed at the ground level. That's just it.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's all well and good to get federal money into a program, and that's fabulous, or state money into a program. But ultimately, it's guys like you, it's organizations like Bridge to Home on the ground dealing with people one on one that's going to get this fixed. That's what's going to make a dent.
Yeah.
Nothing else is.
Yeah.
And again, we have 30% of the nation's homelessness with 13% of the population. That's insane.
Significant.
Yeah, and it's not the sunshine of movie stars. It's making people who are homeless come to California because they're not coming here. They're here to begin with.
Right.
That's just it. We are doing a very poor job in this state of taking care of our own population, and that's a lot of that has to do with inflation. It has to do with economic forces, certainly, but we have just not done enough for people on the lowest economic tiers.
Yeah.
I mean, I get clients all the time who, if we can save their house, great. And that's when we try to do that. And if we can't, they got no place else to go.
Right. Yeah.
So we try very hard not to create any more clientele for you guys, but we see it on. Luckily, we win a lot more than we lose. We're pretty good at this, but it is absolutely insane that should be allowed. It is far, far too easy to fall through those cracks.
Yeah.
And the people, and those of you out there who are listening, who think, well, yeah, okay, I know homeless, or they're this, they're that, the other thing, and it wouldn't happen to me. You're wrong. You are no more than one or two really serious disasters away from winding up in right the same place as anyone else.
Yeah.
So I think you have just me, but I think you have a responsibility, if you are in a position that you can give, to do so, because not only is it the right thing to do, it could be helping you one day.
Right. I always tell people, I've said this many times, people in my organization are probably tired of hearing me say this. I come from a large...
Well, you tee it up like that, it's got to be good.
Well, I come from a large Latin family. If I were to ever find myself in a time where I have nowhere to go, I can turn to my parents or to my siblings or to my aunts and uncles, my cousins or whatever. They're my support system.
Which is
I
great.
would be able to stay. And if I ever overstayed my welcome at anyone's house, I can jump to the next one, right? And it'd take a long time for me to need an organization like Bridge to Home. But because I have this large support system, many of the people that come through our doors don't have that. And we become their support system, and the community becomes their support system. And we each need that, and it's vital for us to have that. And whether it is our family, like those of us that are blessed enough to have such a large family to be able to turn to in times of need, great. If you don't, we all in every community need an organization like Bridge to Home that can become that support system, and then we become their family. And that is important for us, that is really essentially what we become. And then Mandy and I have talked about this, like for Bridge to Home, the support system is the city of Santa Clarita, the community of Santa Clarita. We need you to be able to support us so that we can support our clients.
Yeah.
And it's this, full, whole service program that can meet every client where they're at and provide them whatever it is. I mean, if it's just a yoga class, that's great. They feel like they're part of a community, they're taking part in something that we get to choose to take part in. And then we're giving them the opportunity to also do that and feel like they're not homeless for that hour of an activity.
Exactly. I was talking to a resident just a few days ago, and they said you don't realize when these volunteers come in and serve a meal, they get to see the kids serving with their families, and they just get to feel like a human for just about 45 minutes. They learn from them. One gentleman said, I see the character and the dignity that some of these, the volunteers have, and I want to be like that. They just some people just need an example because they're going through a hard time. The prices have increased. They could not manage their own life at that point.
Yeah.
And then we are the gift, and the volunteers are the gift, and the staff, and they get to feel some dignity.
Well, I think, when you treat, every study you look at, going back to the 1950s, when you treat people with dignity and respect, especially people who are in trouble, they mirror that. It's the same. I don't mean to down. It's the same with children. It's the same with raising
Exactly.
kids.
Yeah.
If you treat them
Yeah.
if you teach them dignity and respect,
Yeah.
they will mirror that. If you exemplify
Yes.
that, they will mirror that. I know there are those people who are outliers for sure, but that's the minority. That is not the majority of people. I also, in our area in particular, I mean, we're here in Southern California. This is a fairly, I mean, it's not Bel Air, but it's a fairly affluent area for sure. There's a fairly significant. Let me just look at the housing prices here.
Right.
We have wealth in this community. We
Yes.
do, and we certainly have more than we need. So it is not asking a lot, I think, to say that we can step up and do a better job than we're doing. I mean, not that you guys. I mean, the community.
Yeah.
In other words, there is more money available that should be making its way to Bridge to Home, because the more money you guys have, the more you guys can do with it, and you guys
Right.
handle it extremely responsibly. I mean. I've gone over. I haven't checked as deeply as I haven't conducted an audit or anything. It's not my job. But I have never heard, and I've been in the community for a long time. I've been in real estate. I've never heard of some issue with Bridge to Home, which is great. I mean, I don't know if that's much of an endorsement, but it's still, it's better than having an issue. Because you see so many of these things where they do have a problem. So. It is. In other words, a reputable organization is what I was trying to get to there, maybe somewhat clumsily. But yes, giving money to Bridge to Home is a very useful thing. It is good for you. It is good for the community. It's good for the organization. And frankly, it's good for all of us.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'll just use my own very jaundiced view of this. If you have a house to sell, say, and there's a homeless encampment on your corner, you're not getting as much for that house.
Right.
You're not selling that house. Not in this town. No way.
Right.
And that's not the fault of the people who are camping on the corner. They're there because they have no place else to go.
Correct.
So it might behoove all of us to see to it that people who do fall through the cracks, just because they do, this is just what happens, that maybe they're given a place to go so they don't have to be camping out in front of your house. So if you do have a house to sell, you can do that. So if you don't want to do it for altruistic reasons, do it for self-preservation reasons. Do it because it's good for you. It's not maybe the best motivation, but we'll take what we can get. Anyway, we're going to hear some more from our sponsors. We love our sponsors, so please stay through the break. I'm going to ask you guys to stay through because we didn't get a chance to talk about Soup for the Soul Gala. Soup for the Soul Gala. I want to talk about that a little bit when we get back. So guys, listen through the break if you would. Got all kinds of stuff coming back. More with Mandy and Chris when we get back. I'm your host, Rich Sherman. You're listening to The Fix with Rich on 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. Hello, welcome back. You're listening to The Real Estate Fix. I'm your host, Rich Sherman, on KHTS 98.1 FM, AM 1220, your hometown station. And we're here today with Chris Navarro. God, I keep enunciating. My apologies. Chris Navarro and Mandy O'Connor with Bridge to Home. And we've been talking about some of the fine work that Bridge to Home does in our community and how dollars spent with Bridge to Home, dollars donated to Bridge to Home, stay in our community and the great work that they're doing. And before we wrap up the show today, we had a little bit more time. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the gala that is coming up. I love a good gala. Soup for the Soul. Let's talk about that a little bit. Now, I know it is sold out, so those of you who are late on the bandwagon like me don't get to go. That doesn't mean you can't donate. That doesn't mean you can't get ready for next year. That's fine. But let's talk about what that is, because it sounds like a fun fundraiser. I'm sorry I was late to register.
Next year.
Next
It's
year.
going to be an
I will be there next year.
exciting event. It started out as a small, in someone's home, giving out soup to raise money. This is our annual fundraiser. And it is about raising money, but it's also about celebrating our people, celebrating our board members, our staff. We had over 1,000 volunteers last year. We want to celebrate them. We want to celebrate all of our contributors. This year we have over 30 sponsors. I'm just so proud to say that, from the Santa Clarita Valley. They are large corporations to mid-sized to small organizations to congregations. We have a live auction, a silent auction, and these things were donated from people in this town. Again, all the money goes to our case management services, the shelter, and our meals. It will be held at the Hyatt Regency Valencia on Saturday, February 24th. We are going to pack the house. I think I'm oversold at this point, and it's really going to be a great night. We're going to talk about our programs and services and highlight some success stories. You talked about how people get homeless, and it's how people become homeless. It's not always about addiction. We're going to talk about a woman who faced some struggles, and she said she's a well-educated woman who had a career in this town, and it all just went away the last few years.
Yeah.
And she came to Bridge to Home, and in 10 months to 12 months, she dove in. She worked the program. She talked with her case manager. She grabbed a hold of the resources that we provide, and now she has a home to call hers again.
Excellent. That is the whole point, I suppose. That's a terrific story, and that is the idea. I think maybe next year, take 2 rooms at the Hyatt.
Will do.
I think.
Will do.
No, I'm saying that for personal reasons because it's my own fault. I was late to register, so I don't get a ticket this year. But it's that oversold. Make some more
Yeah,
money.
that's
Get some more
great.
money.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, and kudos to the community for coming out and supporting it because it's like $150 a ticket, $125 a ticket.
Correct.
It's not per person, which is not unreasonable, but it is a little on the pricey side, and yet still it's selling out. So it's like a Beyonce concert. Well done. I guess we're supposed to say Taylor
expensive,
Swift. Yeah, supposed to say Taylor Swift now. Anyway, yeah, so it's great. So it's a giant gala. It's held once a year. Do you guys always do it in February? Is it always kind of right around
This is
Valentine's Day?
actually the second time we do it in February. It used to be in November, but
Okay.
yeah, we changed things around right after the pandemic, and
I think it
now
works
it's in
better
February.
in February than December.
I think so.
anyway.
Yeah.
So, it's good
Yeah, I
for
think
the
so.
holidays and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So, how much is it? How much do we? You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. But how much do you think you raised in the one event? I'm curious.
Last year we raised
Over 150,000.
Oh,
Yeah.
in one event. Well
One
done.
event,
That's
yes.
awesome.
So we have a higher goal this year, and I'm just thrilled. I mean, people said yes right off the bat. People were emailing saying, "Okay, we would like to sponsor this year," and that's what it's about.
Okay, now I feel like that was a little aimed at me when you said people said yes right off the bat. I feel bad enough about this. No, that's fair. That's fair. I didn't get to it quickly enough. Clearly a big event that's well attended, and I should have gotten it together. And you're not the first one to point that out. My wife also told me about that. So, yeah,
You'll be there next year.
Oh, yes, definitely. Oh, you can be sure I'll be there next year. My wife's exact words, I think, were, "It is somewhat embarrassing that you're getting involved with this, and yet we are not able to go." And I said, "Well, that's because I didn't get us tickets in time."
No,
And she
no.
said, "Yes, you didn't." And I take it that was the end. She has a tone. I love my wife dearly, but there's this sort of, we've been together for 33 years, so there's this sort of tone that she'll get every so often that tells me we're done with the conversation. So,
At least when that.
yeah, so so next year I am expected to do far better. I was going to go with, well, you could also buy tickets too, but I didn't think that was a good move at that
No,
point. I figured
probably
probably
not.
best at this point to just,
No, don't say
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
it's my fault.
Yeah.
It's my fault. Add it to the list. But anyway, no. So it's a great event. Those of you who are not able to get tickets, look for next year. But in the meantime, you can still donate directly to the group. That's what I do. That's what I would recommend you guys do. And again, if you're not going to do it for yourself, or for the altruistic reasons, or because it's something that needs to be done, or you feel like you should do it because you feel like you owe the community. If those two reasons are good enough, do it because it's your own best interest. It just is. You want to keep property values high. You want to keep the community in good working order and all that good stuff. This is a component of our community, and it's going to be for the rest of our lives. It just is. Yeah. It has been long before now, and it will be forever. And we have to address it. Now, the good news is you guys are there. Mm-hmm. Bridge to Home is there. So we have a mechanism for fixing this. We have a mechanism for dealing with it. Mm-hmm. It just needs to be more. It just needs to have more money. It just needs to have more access. I mean, you guys, what was it, 22 beds I think you started with now, or 22?
Yeah, 21 I think it was, yeah.
Now you're talking about 900 people a year.
900 people a year.
And whole families and everything, so which is fantastic. But so definitely moving in the right direction. But there's no reason we can't do more. I mean, we still haven't gotten everybody.
We intend to.
Well, just parking to come into the station today. There was a woman sleeping on the street outside here in Newhall, and that's unfortunate. And I'm sure it's fairly not a totally cold morning, but I'm sure she would much rather be in a bed in a house than sleeping on the street in Newhall. Yeah. But she needs to know she has that option, and now that the Bridge to Home is there, and you guys are growing and good things are happening with it, now they have that option. Yeah. So you can go out and kind of do that. Is there anything you guys want to touch on before we wrap up the show? I want to make sure I didn't miss anything.
No, we're just grateful for all the support and for you having us on the show.
My pleasure. Are you kidding?
There's many ways to give. Volunteering at the shelter. You can bring meals. We're always in need of paper goods, oatmeal, water, milk, coffee. Those are little things that they go quickly in our organization, but just drop it by. We'd love to see you.
Also, if you own a restaurant locally, I'll bet you guys can make use of that as well.
Yes.
We'll see what we can do. I know a few people. We'll see what we can do. But anyway, thank you guys for coming in. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I'm very sorry. I'm very happy that the Soup for the Soul is sold out. That is wonderful. Not for me, but for everybody. I don't mean not for me like I didn't want to go. I definitely wanted to go. It's not wonderful because I was too late to get tickets. But it's fantastic that it was sold out. It's great that you guys are doing this. It's wonderful that you guys are there. The Bridge to Home is there. So yeah, for those of you, please donate to Bridge to Home. It will do you good. It will do the organization good, and it will be good for the community. And again, these dollars stay right here. Mm-hmm. So Anyway, thank you guys for listening today. I appreciate it. Thank you guys again for coming in. And yeah, you guys who are listening, if you have any questions, you call me anytime, 661-714-1400. That is my personal cell phone, 661-714-1400, and I'll be happy to talk to you about Bridge to Home or anything else. You've been listening to The Real Estate Fix with Rich. I'm your host, Rich Sherman, and you've been listening to KHTS 98.1 FM, AM 1220, your hometown station. You guys have a good week. Be good humans.